Welcome back to the HerbRally Podcast. Today, I'm honored and excited to have on Bevin Clare and Camille Freeman, longtime contributors to HerbRally. Welcome to the show, you two.
Hi.
Thank you.
Yeah. Smoking herbal blends. We need some mullein and some kush, my brethren. While listening to HerbRally Podcast again. Herbalism at its finest with Mason Hutchinson. Yeah.
Well, we're going to delve into a lot of this upcoming event you have, but being a herbal community nerd, I always love hearing origin stories. So just curious, how did you two meet?
Well, I can take a stab at that one. We first met when we were working together at MUIH. We shared a teeny little office, the two of us and James Snow. We're the core faculty in the herbal medicine department. And yes, being in close proximity,
Oh, nice.
40 hours a week will do it.
Yeah.
Well, that and we got pregnant at the same time with our firstborns, and that was so, and that adventure has kind of continued as they're both very, very close friends. So it's been a really fun multi-generational friendship over the years.
Yeah, and MUIH for the listener is Maryland University of Integrative Health. And yeah, I guess pregnancy really would grow the bond between you two. And look at you two now, you're creating all sorts of events together, and it's super fun to see. I saw you post about this event you got coming up next month, actually, and I just got excited and I wanted to have a chat about it. So well, first of all, what's the title of the event and why did you choose to create it?
Well, Camille and I have been for years, we've been saying we should have a retreat. We should do this because she and I travel together often. And one of the things that we find is really valuable in that time is that we do a lot of dreaming and planning. Sometimes we're hiking, sometimes we're just sitting together, drinking tea and talking about what's important, what's next, like what's working, what's not, and so on. And so having that time together, we always would think, I wish everybody had this. And I wonder if we could help bring that to other people and help facilitate it. So, Camille, do you want to take the where we got to now?
Yeah. So we decided that we wanted to have a retreat. We have actually been thinking about it for a while, and we've been looking around. We've scoped out different places to have it and so forth. And it always seemed kind of expensive and a little bit challenging just to organize. And then recently we kind of stumbled across a beautiful retreat center just a few miles from Bevin's house that was willing to work with us to keep the price as affordable as possible, that had good quality food and all this. So we decided to do it's a summer dreaming and planning retreat for practitioners. And this is basically a little pilot, and we're hoping to keep them going if this one works out well.
Keep them going as in once per year do the same event, or just kind of switch it up with kind of a similar attendee?
Well, we're not exactly sure. We would like to do at least one a year, but we may branch out. Right now we're just doing one night, and we've definitely had some requests to do it for a longer period of time, like maybe a long weekend. And we've visioned some more exciting retreats. Not that this one isn't exciting, but we visioned some bigger things, maybe in different locations and things like that. But we're trying to take it one step at a time for right now.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from folks who listen to this and are interested and are thinking, oh, I wish it was longer, or all of these pieces. But I think the idea when we are dreaming and planning about this is that it will be a little bit of a contiguous community where, people will come and they'll share what's happening and where they're going, and they'll dream and plan with us. And then they'll come back and we'll see where that took them and support them in that way. And that will, that community will grow where we can do that for each other. Not just us, but all of the participants are here to invest in each other's futures. So that's what I think about. And maybe at some point we'll have things in between, or it will be more than once a year, or there'll be other types of communication. We do have things like a Facebook group, but we're just starting out. So a lot of it will be guided by the participants and what they feel like their needs are and what we can meet.
Is that Facebook group private, or is it open to anybody?
It's private. It's for the people who register for the workshops at least at this point.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. As a event planner for over a decade, I always like the idea of like starting small, starting somewhere, and then iterating and improving as years go on. So yeah, great job, you two. Well, why don't we delve into a little bit about the content of the event? Why don't we talk about seasonal planning and why it's helpful? Camille, if you want to kick that off.
Yes, I would love to. Pardon me. I've actually been doing little mini seasonal planning workshops for several years, just online. For 30 minutes at the start of every season, I have like a free little Zoom event for people to come and just think about their practices and do some visioning and planning. And it's been really well attended, and people find it really helpful. I personally, I used to do annual planning, like, the new year, January, kind of like, what am I going to do this year? And what I found is that it was great for January and February. And then come like April, something big had happened, a pandemic. I had a baby, my dog, we moved, all the things. And so like they were totally out the window. And then I would just sort of wing it until the end of the year and then start over in January. And so over time, I realized, oh, it actually works better if I just really plan seasonally based on my energy and what's happening in my life and the rhythm of my practice. So I started offering, I was doing it, so I started offering it for other people. And so we decided it would be even better if instead of just taking a little time, we could do that visioning and dreaming together and really step outside of, I have to make dinner. I've got to update my email, my website, all that stuff. Just like really take some time away and go into it deeply. Bevin and I thought that would be a really beautiful way to use our time together and help people not only rest and rejuvenate a little bit, but just have that space to do the deeper work that's so hard to do in the flow of everyday life.
Mm. Yeah, I think another piece of that is our fields as practitioners they're so unique for what we're doing. And so it's a little bit of a niche. And I think being around other people who can understand some of the challenges and some of the gifts that are present in the work that we're all doing is really helpful. So bringing those folks together, and there's so much room for all of us to succeed. So I love that idea too of each other, helping to support our unique visions and dreams.
Just trying to picture this, how this works. Do you have like a goal of how many attendees you would like? Is it going to be like breakout sessions where you both kind of teach? Are you hoping for like this to be almost like a conference of sorts? I'm just kind of picture the scope of it all.
Yeah, we're not hoping for it to be a conference. we're going for a much smaller, more intimate event. So right now, there's actually an upper limit on the number of people that we can have in the retreat center where we are. And I don't think we'll get to that limit, but we're thinking somewhere in the range of like 10 to 15 participants is really more what we're thinking would be, a small, intimate gathering.
Totally. No, that makes sense. Okay, awesome. Well,
there'll be a schedule and some structure, the idea of we have different activities and so on. And also time to take advantage of being on this beautiful land and being with each other and to have some time you've actually carved out to do your own work. So a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's so important. Setting that intention to be able to actually do this work, because that's one of those things where you just keep pushing off into the future. And then, I can imagine attendees will go away with just like a really strong vision for how they're going to move forward with their practice. Awesome. So why is it helpful to make time for planning and visioning as opposed to by the seat of your pants method that most of us use by default?
Yeah, well, I will just speak for myself, and I'd love to hear from either of you two on this one as well. But I find that if I don't schedule it in, then I really am just caught up in the day to day. I'm like, okay, I got to answer these emails. I got to, get this thing published. I got to meet with this client and do this thing. And there's never any time to sort of regroup and look and think like, is this working? Is this how I want to be spending my time? Am I doing my best work in the world? Or would I rather, do I think I could be more helpful if I did this instead of that? So for me, it's like forcing myself to make the time to step away a little bit and to ask the bigger questions, it makes such a difference. And I see this in the people that I mentor too, where people will get on like a marketing plan or something, and they're like, I'm going to do 3 posts a week, and and they spend hours a week doing it. And I'm like, well, is it working? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, well, let's not just keep doing it indefinitely if we don't step back and ask, like, why are you doing it? Is this a good use of your time? Is it actually helping you to go where you want to go? And if not, let's like regroup and do something else. So for me, that's one of the big intentions in making the time for something like this. But what do you all think?
Bevin?
Well, and I really want to hear what you have to say, Mason, because
Sure.
you're really great at planning out your next steps, I always find. For me, I'm coming from a little bit of a different perspective than Camille is, and part of it is that I run a master's degree program, and I watch clinical herbalists train and burst out into the world. For 20 years, I've been doing that or more. And I watch what works again and again. And those traits that are present for the people that, are always full of clients, always, there's certain characteristics. They have seemingly endless opportunities, whereas other folks are really having a challenge getting there. And so I think a lot of it does have to do with that intention and that like setting aside time, and the willingness to spend the time doing it. I think that's hard for folks to do because there's always something more pressing on the table that needs to be done at that moment. So I think that's the why it's so good to be doing this type of planning. And I think both Camille and I also live by something, and I think you do too, Mason, which is just living in a really intentional way, like thinking about, what do I want this one wild and precious life to be like? And what's that going to look like? And how can I make as many of those things as possible in my life? And it's different for everybody, what that looks like and what our ability are for all of the limitations we have. But even, just thinking about that, I think is so worth it in your life.
Yeah. Camille, your point about like posting 3 times a week, to what end? Like, what's the point of this? Why are we doing this? Like just to do something, just to do it, is basically pointless. I really like looking at everything through the lens of having an overarching goal, and then all of my behavior should be working towards that goal. Otherwise, what am I doing it for? Even with like my self-care regimen, like I'll be doing something every day, and then I'll reevaluate and be like, why am I doing this? This actually isn't serving me any purpose. So I'll adjust in real time and continuously tweak and alter, work, HerbRally stuff, or just life stuff in general. So yeah, I'm constantly juggling priorities through, like, Camille, we've talked about this before, project management software. Like stuff just gets like kind of put to the bottom of the list because really it's stuff I would like to do, but if it doesn't actually serve the purpose of what I'm trying to work towards, it definitely easily gets put to the bottom of that list. But yeah, I mean, I'm guilty of this. Like, it's been a while since I've really reevaluated. It was just only recently where I was reminded, I was like, right, what is the core purpose of HerbRally? What is the overall goal? What am I trying to do? What are we trying to do here? And so Amanda and I, we meet every week. We call it We Work for whatever reason. And we constantly start the meetings with like, what are we trying to accomplish here? You know what I mean? So we kind of do it in like a mini way, but I would like to do this whole seasonal approach. I think that's really smart. And I'm excited for your attendees. They're going to get a lot of value out of it, and a lot of clarity, you would hope.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that answered the question. I think it did.
Yeah.
I guess I have a lot to say about that, but awesome. Well, why don't we talk a little? Did anyone else have anything else to add to that, or no?
Well, I'll just want to kind of build on something you were saying, Mason, which is that I think sometimes too we set a goal or an intention or something, and we're working towards it, and we're going, but then you find that things changed a little bit, and maybe your goal isn't big enough. Your intention is like where it is, but you didn't realize, like, wow, I could actually expand this up. There's more possibilities beyond what you could see a year ago or 2 years ago. And all of a sudden, if you take that time, you're like, wow, I would never have thought this would be possible. And now I'm I'm realizing, oh, there's a whole nother level. Not that I'm saying we have to constantly grow, but there's like a new possibilities open when you take the time to reevaluate periodically instead of just once.
Just a quick break from the show to let you know about the HerbRally events page. Did you know that we add new herbalism events from all over the United States and the world for that matter on an almost daily basis? You can peruse herbalism events at herbrally.com/events and hopefully find something in your neck of the woods. You can also search by state to make it even easier to find a plant walk, conference, or class near you. And we also list virtual herbalism events as well. Check those out at herbrally.com/virtual. And again, for the in-person events, go to herbrally.com/events. All right, back to the show.
Yeah, I think we should always bloom and grow, Camille. And
Love it.
but, yeah.
How much did you pay him to do that?
I know, right? Really, all the advertising dollars.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, to your point, Camille, like when I set a goal and I to go work for Mountain Rose Herbs, and then I did it, I was like, oh shoot, this is fun. What's going to be my next goal? And then it was kind of HerbRally. And someone recently asked me on an interview, like, what's next for HerbRally? What's your goal with it? Shit, I have no better answer than I just want to continue improving at it. And it really helps me out to have some sort of grandiose goal because it's just fun to work towards. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want my answer to that question just to be, oh, just keep doing what we're doing and hopefully grow a little bit every year and, sustain ourselves. It's kind of boring. I really thrive under having audacious goals, and dang, I really need to come up with a new one. So next time we check in, everybody, let's see what my next goal is. But yeah, I think it is
rally
important
for world domination or something.
Exactly. But yeah, we don't need to have these big goals to be like, adequate humans, but I don't know. That's just the way I function. It's a balance of staying in the present moment and always continuing to bloom and grow. So, well, why don't we talk a little bit about the event itself? Well, let's talk a lot about the event. Where is it held? We kind of briefly touched on that. What's the dates? What's the food, lodging, et cetera, going to be like? Bevin, you want to take this one?
Yeah, this was such a weird experience because as Camille mentioned, we'd been looking at places for ages. I mean, looking at retreat center groups and hotels and Airbnbs and just trying to figure out what is the right place for this that's not going to cost a fortune. It's easy if it's going to be $500 a day or something like that, conference style meals. But we wanted something more intimate, but also something comfortable. These are professionals. And so a little Google search, I came up with a place that was really close to my house. I mean, just a couple of miles away from my house where I've lived for a long time. And I was like, this is really strange. I mean, why have I never heard of this? And I looked and I realized that I drive by it all the time. I drive by the land, and the land has big signs all along it that says silent retreat center, like no trespassing, no noise, any of that. And I knew about this place. And from my understanding, it was this silent retreat center that was very strict. And so I thought it was odd that they now were advertising that they do all these different other things. And so we got in touch, and, it was, I don't know the backstory, but the individual who's running it and the organization that oversees it, which is a religious organization, but they offer fully secular, highly progressive, very open-minded things. And he has been given free rein to create a mission of good things in the world, basically. I mean, he's really doing awesome things. The land is beautiful. The lodging is very simple and rustic, but it's like that kind of earthy, wood-paneled 1970s geometric style with high ceilings that overlook the trees and all of this. And it's really comfy and cozy. And they prepare all the meals from local foods and everything. So we're in a pretty accessible area close to 3 major airports near Washington, D.C. And yet you feel like you're just in the middle of the woods. It feels like a retreat. And so they are very excited for us to be there. Open outdoor fire pits. I mean, all sorts of ways that we can take advantage of being somewhere beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're basically it's just a 24-hour thing. so we decided to, like we said, start kind of small and just let people, including ourselves, dip our toe into this and see how it goes. So it's basically 10 a.m. Saturday to 10 a.m. Sunday on June 1st and 2nd. There's free parking. The food, they, like I said, they prepare it to specifications. So we're gathering information from people if they're gluten-free or vegetarian or whatever. We can accommodate that if we know in advance. And so then, yeah, once people get there, we're gonna settle in, and like we said, we've got some structured activities that are more around visioning and working in a group, and then some time to walk or meditate or rest. Some, we'll have a campfire. Those types of things are on the agenda.
Awesome. So who's your intended audience for this? We've kind of briefly touched on it, but more specifically, who are you hoping attends this event?
Well, we're hoping that practitioners of, it could be nutrition, it could be herbal medicine, it could be something along those lines, whatever really kind of practitioner you are, as long as you're in the spirit of things for us. And though it can either be you're just starting out, or you already, have some momentum and you want to fine tune things and so on. If you already have like a Fortune 500 herb company consulting business, we're probably not the right retreat center for you. But we really want to do that kind of personalized attention. So if it feels good and it feels like something that you want to do, we'll meet you wherever you're at, and that's what we expect.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I think of our current folks who are already signed up to come. We've got a mixture of people who are in the, first year-ish phase of getting started with a business or a practice. And we've got a handful of people who are several years down the road and just want to do some in-person gathering and some assessment and the visioning. I think the visioning needs to happen no matter where you are along the road. So basically, people who are running their own clinical practice, no matter where they are along that path, would probably find something of value here.
So someone registers, they go to the event. What are you hoping that person specifically leaves with?
Well,
Camille.
Yeah. Our main intention is that people will feel like they, first of all, are connected with their reasoning, their I don't like to say goal necessarily, but their big picture why. Why are you doing this work? What do you have to bring into the world? And that piece of things. It's like feeling really grounded in that, feeling like you have a vision for the next few months of what you want to focus on. And then also we're hoping people will leave with a more specific plan of like, okay, what does that look like in your actual day-to-day life? How does it not just, oh, this is my intention, but what does that mean? And what is the plan for, I wake up, what do I do? Yeah.
I think also maybe if we're lucky, and this is our intention, is a little bit of a sense of a community with some other folks who are also working toward these goals. Maybe organic accountability groups will pop up if somebody wants something like that, or we have the Facebook group. We'll see what happens in between now and then. Both Camille and I are in touch with people who are doing this type of ongoing work, like through other services that we offer, like coaching and things like that, which is absolutely not necessary, but you never know if someone wants to continue on the path a little bit more intimately as they're going, whatever is going to work. And that's where one of the things I'm the most excited about is just finding out really what are people hoping they'll walk out of beyond what we've already anticipated, and what do they find they receive from it. So we have our plans, and I think there'll be a lot more.
Yeah, don't underestimate the power of accountability buddies. My dad and I are accountability buddies right now. We're both on a weight loss journey. And it's been so effective. We check in once a week, and we talk shit to each other if we didn't hit our goals. Not really, but it's been incredibly effective. So that'd be a nice byproduct of attending this event for sure. Awesome. Well, why don't we talk about maybe a practical takeaway that the listener could take away from this episode? Are there any like exercises that you might recommend where someone could, after listening to this episode, they could implement into their practice and, help them set goals?
Yeah, I think that it's very easy to come up with your own seasonal planning process, which essentially just involves putting time in your calendar. That's the biggest part of it is really just scheduling it out in advance, like right now for the fall, for example. Even 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes makes a difference. So putting that in your calendar, saying, I'm going to do my seasonal planning. And my recommendation is that you just take that time, you look over the last season, you think to yourself, like, what's gone really well this last season? What have I done? What have I accomplished? And then what's tripping me up a little bit? I use that time to review my numbers, like, income, expenses, how many people signed up for various things, all that. I'd really do just like a quick snapshot overview. And then I ask myself, what's most important to me this coming season? And for me, that involves taking into account, like, okay, do I have family things planned? Do I know I want to spend lots of time in the garden? Or is this my buckle down time and it's crappy weather and I just want to be inside and working all the time or whatever? So kind of account for all that and then think like, okay, what do I want to really focus on just for 3 months? And then going down to that level of like, all right, well, what does that look like monthly, weekly? And just kind of putting that down. Taking 15 minutes, 30 minutes to do that every season can make such a difference. And I actually have a recording of one of my seasonal planning processes on my podcast, which I can send you the link to that episode.
Please.
So if people want to just get a feel for what it could look like, you could do that, but you can design your own. It's not like some sort of secret process. Like whatever works for you. But just taking the time to do it, I think, is the most important piece.
Yeah, I love that you two are doing this work. The herbal community has so many amazing herbal teachers, right? We're teaching us how to use the plants and work with the plants and be with the plants. But there's this other side of it where we have to learn the business side of things, and it's super important work. So I'm glad y'all are out there doing it. Bevin, did you have anything to add to what Camille was saying, or?
No, I think it just, yeah, sure. I think it comes down to that intentionality too, and taking that time for that. You mentioned the business side of things, and it's interesting because I think of this as like, of course, it has to do with the business side of things and a lot to do with the business side of things, but also has so much to do with like the life side of things. Amen. Too. And what is this life that you're trying to lead here? And money is obviously a part of it for most of us, probably all of us, but it's certainly just a part of it.
Well said. Where can folks register?
You can just go to CamilleFreeman.com/retreat.
Oh, nice.
And sign right up.
Easy peasy. And just to shout it out, so Bevin's at BevinClare.com, Camille's got CamilleFreeman.com, and I actually am just about to come out with a website called MasonHutchison.com. So
Of course. So if people were ready to poach any of those three, their opportunities are
it's gone. Yeah,
they're gone. Sorry. And I was going to throw in there that we are already nailing down dates for next May. So nice. If a few weeks from now is a little too soon, which we totally get, then feel free to hop on Camille's mailing list or just check back at the website at some point and find out more details about that. And if there's something about it that you would like us, you want it to be longer or shorter or whatever, let us know what would actually really appeal to you. We'd love your feedback.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to try to have as quick a turnaround on this episode as possible, hopefully tomorrow, just to give us as much time as possible for folks to register and learn more. And you mentioned Camille's newsletter. I highly recommend the listener sign up for it. Anyways, you always post such thoughtful stuff in your newsletter, Camille. So definitely recommend signing up at CamilleFreeman.com. Anything else you two want to go over before we wrap up and get out of here?
It was great to chat with you, Mason. And thank you so much for letting us, share with your listeners about this. We're really excited.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, come hang with us. Be really great.
Awesome. Well, thanks you two. We'll talk soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
And that's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the HerbRally podcast. If you'd like to hear more from us here at HerbRally, we now have a text message community, believe it or not. Basically, it's just updates from us. We send about 1 to 7 texts per week, notifying you about new events, videos, courses, podcasts. You get the idea. It's pretty much like our email newsletter, just in text form.
So if you'd like to receive text messages from HerbRally, just text JOIN, that's JOIN, to the number 541-256-2895. Again, that's JOIN to number 541-256-2895. And to stop receiving text, that's easy too. Just text STOP to the same number. It'll opt you out immediately. Okay, thanks again for listening. Have a great rest of your day.